Hey, young adults, welcome to the 6 p.m. Let's go!
I'm just kidding. For those who maybe were freaking out a little bit about the audio not coming through, I thought I'd play a bit of a joke on Kieran. I don't know if he laughed or thought it was funny, but he's equipped himself quite nicely with soundtracks today. And just be prepared when we have our guest up. They are everything from lamb noises to a hit noise. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around. This is a bit of a buffering time. Hello, Dean, Jesse, Nate. Nate's in the comments here. George, hello. That's annoying. The guys are laughing. Even Keenan giving the flame emojicons. I always get sidetracked. I'm so sorry. You think after all this time in practice, I would be a little bit more professional. So sorry, family back at home, but I did want to let you know that this is a bit of a buffering time. So if you're watching a little bit later than live, that you can look down below for the timestamps. We've got the pre-host, we've got worship, panel, and the end of prayer. On the end of prayer with Allegra, you're going to want to stick around as we have a video that's going to keep you quite excited for what we've got planned coming forward. For the guys who are watching a bit later than live, you might jump all the way there to just see what we've got planned. But for the guys who are watching live, stay tuned, and I promise you it's going to be worth the wait. Jesse replying to George, question marks, don't know why. Keenan, Mr. Ops, hello Keens, good to see you in the comments. Can we give it away that you're the guest? He's shaking his head. I kind of just gave it away right then and there, didn't I? We have Keens as our guest today. He is playing David. I promise you. I'm making a lot of promises today. It's either one word or the other. It's excited 1 week, then it's promise 1 week. So I promise you that it's going to be a fun-filled experience. I don't want to steal too much time. As you know, from a couple of weeks ago, we used to play a game with our guest. Because it's the end of the month, we're interviewing a Bible character, and this gentleman is playing David. And I promise you, once again, just in case you weren't sure, I'm promising again that it will be a great laugh. We've got a script going, and there's a bit of humor in between. But for those who are waiting patiently and in the comments, Nicola, go Keens. And we got George, career limiting move. Oh, I don't know what I've done now. City of PE, love you, Keenan. You got the whole city of PE saying I love you, Keenan. That's incredible. Can I get a love you moment? Is that possible? Guys, if this is one of your first times or you've been watching for a while, I'm thinking of a friend by the name of Paul, who, if you want to comment now, it would be quite awesome to be able to acknowledge you. We love to have community in the comments, so if you're able to give a comment, and I'm going to encourage you that if your first time, give 5 emojicons of your favorite. So the Kirans and Nates of the world, you can't do the flame emojicon 5 times because you're a regular commenter. But if it's your first time, Bianca, I love you. Thank you, Kukunooks. If it is your first time, Oaks are laughing in the back here. I'm trying to keep composed. If it is your first time, give 5 emojicons and any of your choice, your favorite. I'd love to be able to try to give you a shout out. I'm getting better at this practicing of going between comments and camera as we give this a little bit of time as buffering for people to hop online. You know, student days. Guys are a little bit slow to get onto their phones and whatnot, so we're using this time wisely. As you can maybe see on the top right-hand side of your screen, at FH_youngadults is our Instagram handle. If I can encourage you to please go follow. We have a jam-packed weekly schedule to keep you up to date on news, faith-filled activities, and some of our leaders giving Thoughtful Thursday, which is always an awesome experience. There's one more ask, is if I can encourage you, again, watching live or later than live, if you can scroll down just slightly, you're going to see, are you a young adult? You're going to click the link, and you're going to give us some of your basic details. And we'd love to get in touch with you in the week and get you connected, as this is a time that through these activities like online, we're asking to encourage you to come and check out the latest of what we're planning. I'm thinking of inviting my guest up. He's still on his phone commenting. So I don't know if you want to put it down potentially. Thank you, guest, for being with us here today. We're trying to stay strict on time. We like to 6 o'clock hit the go for worship. So I'm going to be welcoming up my guest. He's got a walking stick. He looks fairly old as well, if I'll be honest. But incredible sense of humor and a story. And he's got 3 points of life lessons that you can take away after he's given us his story. Can we please welcome on David? Round of applause, please. Thank you, live audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening,
How are you?
Mr. Perry. Well, and yourself?
Very good, thank you.
It's good.
Good to have you up here.
Thank you so much.
Guys, can we encourage you to give us your, what was the words we were looking for? Your
Rock,
pun.
best rock pun.
Best rock pun.
Best
And,
rock.
and we're going to make a reason why we rocks, because there's a bit of a reference to that a bit later. So your best rock pun will get a shout out. Keens will be the guy who makes note of it. Anthony's laughing at the title, Mr. Engaged. Can you believe it? 2 weeks of Engaged.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you, bro.
That's incredible.
Means so much to me.
Excellent.
Can you tell me your story? You've got, I see a head.
Yeah, sorry. It's
You've got a head on stage.
the big G's head,
Okay. Gee.
Goliath. I
Okay.
just have to carry it around with me.
Okay. Tell me more.
You want a story?
I want a story, but a shortened one.
A shorter one. Okay. Let me go from the top here quick. So one day I was chilling in the field with my lamb chops. I've lost some of them. So if you
Can you tell them to keep quiet?
Yeah, they replied. So I was chilling with my lamb chops. My dad gives me a call. He says, listen, I need you to go pick some food up from Burger King because
Okay.
his credit card wasn't linking with the Mr. D app. I just hated when that happened.
It's always happened
Then
lately.
you have to pay cash. Oh, it's such a mission.
Oh my goodness.
So I had to order an in-driver.
Okay, that's the newest, greatest thing, right?
Yes.
I wonder if they would be able to sponsor us. InDrive,
No,
if
no,
you
no.
could...
I'm telling my story now. Sorry.
We haven't had a sponsor for the last couple of weeks.
We'll find one.
Okay.
If we find my sheep, we'll find a sponsor. So I had to order an in-driver. Uber was too expensive.
Okay.
I had to go pick the Burger King up, and then I had to go give it to my brothers. They were at war with the Phillies.
Phillies.
Philistines.
Ah.
The Phillies.
Youngsters. Can you just use the full word?
Okay, so moving on. Then, bro, there was this massive oak that came out when I dropped the food off.
Okay.
Like
Kind of like
big-
me.
No,
if
no,
you
no,
had
no,
to think
no,
of
no.
my chest?
No, he was big, built, not chubby. Not chubby.
Wow.
So can we just get a plaster, a Band-Aid for that burn? Thank you so much. Thanks.
I'm not even hurt. It's fine.
So he wasn't chubby. he was big, built.
Okay.
The type of
Not
guy,
like me.
No, not like you. He's the type of guy that eats egg whites, chicken breasts,
Okay.
and steaks for breakfast, lunch, and supper.
All day long.
You know, I want to say he juices, but let's not go there.
Okay.
Let's not go there. And one thing that this guy had was anger management issues.
Sure.
Big issues. Wouldn't stop shouting, wouldn't stop demanding someone fights him all the time.
Wow.
And, you know, I wasn't having it. Some people would say that he was so high on pre-workout, all he did was clean. Took it clean, no water.
No jokes. Just
No
with
water.
the scoop.
Scoop. Sometimes he even used his finger. Scoop was too small. Massive hands.
Okay.
Yeah, he was, and you know, I wasn't having any of it.
Sure.
So I told the king, listen here, I'm not having any of this cool cat. And he said to me,
What did he say?
Sharp.
that's it. He said, chop.
Okay.
So he let me fight the G, but he gave me some armor. Wasn't good enough. I wasn't happy. So I said to him, listen, I need to go get stuff. And then he said to me,
Then take my wheels and go buy something.
there we go. He said, I must take his wheels and go buy
He
something.
sounds like a pretty cool king.
I took his 4 horsepower. No, he's exceptional king. Took his 4 horsepower. I wanted to go to the Adidas store first to look for some rocks, but they were out of stock.
Okay.
So you know Gabe from Kids Church?
Gabe. Yeah, I know him well.
What
Gabe,
a-
you in the comments?
What
Any
a great
chance?
lad. I wonder if he is there.
Hi, Six. Good to see you online.
And yeah, Gabe gave me some rocks.
Okay.
Gave me 5 rocks that I
Okay.
had to take with me to go defeat Goliath.
Okay. How many you got? You got them with you?
I do. Do you want to see them?
Yeah, sure.
Great. I can show you quickly. I only have 4 now.
You used one.
Yes, look at you. Matt, big shot. I have a penguin,
Nice.
a smiley face,
Okay.
a watermelon. I had a sunflower, but I used it.
Okay.
And then this one isn't painted, but it's a heart shape.
Wow.
No comment about that. No comments about
I
that.
thought you had a comment. You sure?
No comment about that. And yeah, so
Why is the one not painted though?
someone's going to paint it.
Okay. Elaborate.
No, we won't go there. We won't go there.
Okay.
No, it's yeah, we won't go there.
Okay.
So I put the rock in my slingshot,
Sure.
put it in, swung it, hit him in the pip, bro. In the pip.
There we go. And he made that noise.
Yeah. That noise was actually recorded from the NASA satellite.
Wow.
Because he was so big and so loud, just absorbed the sound and, ooh,
Hectic.
yeah. And then I just had to end him.
Just as casually as that.
Had to end him. And my last two things I'd like to say is then I had to chop his head off.
Okay.
And I carried it around with me.
Clearly.
I won't lift it. It's a little bit wet.
Okay.
So I had to carry it around with me. Symbolizes my family, my strength.
Sure.
And yeah, I think, all the animals are living much better now. There's been an increase in numbers since he isn't eating so many egg whites, chicken breasts, and steaks.
Hectic.
And the only bad thing is pre-workout stocks have decreased.
Tremendously down.
Tremendously, bro.
Hectic. Well, I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story. You have 3 points to leave with.
3 points indeed, yes. Number 1, always pay cash on
Okay.
Mr. D. Your
Okay.
card will never link. Number 2, in-driver is the best because you can request your own rate.
Okay.
And number 3, always drink water with your pre-workout.
And that's, Ephesians 2:14,
Yes.
James 3:2,
And the last one's Galatians.
Galatians.
Hand in hand with fruits of the Spirit.
Wow. Oh, so passion fruit.
Exactly.
There
the
we go.
Flavor and exceptional.
Absolutely incredible. Guys, I hope you've laughed and enjoyed the evening so far with us. I just want to say a quick hi to Karen in the comments there. Nate, living by these 3 points. Thank you so much, Nate. I appreciate the bandage as well, I must be honest. Guys, it is an awesome panel, which I cannot wait to share with you. We're going to start off with worship, and we'll see you in the next little bit.
Welcome everyone to the 6 p.m. service. Let's stand together and worship.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Come on. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. Now I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. Now I'm a child of God. Yes, I am in my Father's house. There's a place for me. Now I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen. And I am chosen, not forsaken. And I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. And I am who you say, and I am chosen. And I am chosen, not forsaken. And I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. And I am who you say I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. Now I'm a child of God. Yes, I am in my Father's house. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. Now I'm a child of God. Yes, I am in my Father's house. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. So I am a child of God. And I am chosen for you. Every season, every moment, God. Yeah, yeah. house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Oh. Enjoy the rest of the service, everybody. Amen and amen.
Welcome back, Father's House. I hope you enjoyed that worship. I was watching the comments here from stage. How incredible was that worship? And some of the comments, Leslie, we really are blessed with one of the best worship teams. I had a quick shout from the side there. I still had my plaster on my head, so I had to quickly remove it and just quickly throw it to the side. Guys, if you haven't known yet and you've come in back after watching this a little bit later and not live, we're about to be going into the panel. Let me tell you, it is incredible. You're going to want to stick around. And right at the end, I'm going to keep you waiting for all those who are watching live. After Allegra's prayer, we have something pretty awesome to tell you. I want to make a joke, but I don't think it's going to be relevant to how awesome it is. So we're really excited. Enjoy this panel.
Hi, young adults. Welcome to the 6 p.m. We're so glad that you're able to join us this evening, and I hope that you enjoy this episode as we are still on our Life Hacks series. I'm so excited to be having coffee with the girls as we unpack the topic of boundaries. So as you can see, we have Lexi over here with her great fiery afro. We have Sunny.
Hello, people.
And we have Anri. So, as I said, we're going to be unpacking the topic of boundaries today. And we've been in lockdown now for a couple of months. And we've had to kind of shift and adjust the way that we do things from work, family, and everything in between. And because we're at home, it may seem to everyone else that we're available at all times. Yeah. So, Lex, how do we go about navigating accessibility, especially in the workplace context, in a time like lockdown and what we're currently going through? For example, like now, everyone thinks at work that maybe we're always available because we're at home.
Sure. It's such a good question, Amanda. And I think it's a question that so many people are facing, especially in their young adult lives, because this is the moment where we're starting to work, we're starting to establish ourselves. We want to be seen, we want to be heard. You know, this is a moment for you to step forward and grow within your industry, whatever it may be. And you just want to be the it kid, you know? Because I want to grow, I want to establish myself. But when it comes to lockdown, I personally have seen that over-exaggeration and that in-depth take to accessibility. I've seen it personally in my own life and also with my work colleagues. I think it's also reflective of whether you have an open door or not. And when I was busy thinking about this previously, I came up with a few tips, because in my life personally, I have always been that child that does a lot of things. Not necessarily that I'm always saying yes, I'm just taking on challenges, you know. I think at the point when I was 15 years old in grade 11, I was having a nervous breakdown because I didn't set any boundaries, and I was always willing to take on as much as I could. So just growing up and being in the establishment and organization that I work in, the first thing that you have to do is actually set a boundary. You know, if it isn't in place, no one's going to put the boundary in place if you don't do it yourself. Very good. You know, so that's the first point. And then once you've set your boundary, keep to it. You know, no one is going to shift your schedule unless you decide to shift your schedule, and no one actually sees what your vision and mission is and what your priorities are. So if you allow people to move your boundaries, that's all on you, you know. And then that also goes to the next point that I have, where it's quite difficult for some people, and you actually have to learn how to say no when you feel like someone is coming into you with some information or a task that doesn't necessarily, I like to say, align with my brand. In the moment.
Yes.
I've established my brand, I know who I am, or within that specific day, whatever my mission is, if that doesn't coincide with what I have scheduled to do, then unfortunately I have to say no, because that stops my progress.
Yeah.
And that also creates the expectation of me always being accessible.
So good.
You know, because I always have my phone, I have my laptop, and I have my work emails and my personal emails. So you automatically think that you can like message me all the time. No. Like you can't, and you shouldn't allow people to put that into your life, you know, because that it creates an expectation. And then the fourth point for me is just to learn how to relax and recoup. You know, along with those boundaries and those hidden little nuggets or whatever you may have set for yourself, you need to have a moment of reflection to actually establish where the boundary that you put in was effective. Was it worthwhile? Did it help you? Did it set you back? Was there progress? You need to be able to sit back, reflect, and have a little bit of introspection. You know, speak to the Lord and just be like, I don't know if that was the right idea or if it worked. If it wasn't the right idea, Lord, can you help me?
Yes.
Try and, you know, move around this sort of topic. So like while I was sitting in my bed last night, I thought it would be amazing if we established our boundaries as strong as our faith.
Sure.
You know, if we have faith, as you know, like we're young people and we're still growing in faith and we're rooted and we know what direction we want to move in when it comes to our passion and our mission and our purpose, and we understand how strong our faith is needed. Imagine if we applied that same principle to boundaries in our lives.
It's very good.
That's something that I've been thinking of in terms of accessibility in my work life as well as my personal life.
It's very good. I think like something you said about learning to say no is that I think the biggest fear with that is fear of hurting other people. But what we fail to understand is that boundaries are actually meant to be protective measures and guardrails for both people or all parties in the relationship. Like, and I like to think of the fact that if I have to violate my own boundaries or dishonor my own boundaries or dishonor someone else's, it's probably not a healthy relationship to begin with.
So good.
We probably have a deeper issue we're not addressing there. You know, I think there's such a negative connotation around the word boundaries. People think of barriers, where it's actually just parameters. I think like they give you space to do what you can do and what you should do confidently.
So good.
They celebrate your own individuality and the other person's individuality. You know, like they're guardrails for your soul and your life and your growth. So I love what you said there. So
and I think when people talk about the word boundary, I think they sometimes think that you're selfish. You know? And I have personally take that on as something that I do establish in my life. I'm going to put it upon myself to be selfish with my time. Because my time is my priority. In organizations and corporate, time is money. You know, and you can't waste that time, especially if it's driven behind your targets and your purpose. You have to create that little like spot of selfishness. Maybe it's not selfishness, but purpose. I don't know what other word is more positive. Selfish is a little bit, you know. But you know what I'm saying. You have to take those moments for yourself, because then it does necessarily affect on how you're going to move forward and how the other person is going to move forward too.
I feel like what you guys said really kind of hit me in the face, because I always grew up being like a yes man, and I feel like it also stemmed from being at home. I think it's a cultural thing that I felt like saying no was kind of disrespectful. And I always learned that if I say no to something, that person's going to be upset with me, or like because they're superior to me or they're more important than me, I can't say no to them. And I wanted to ask you, Sunny, how do I go about honoring my boundaries without disrespecting another person or feel like I'm disrespecting the other person?
That's good.
Sure, excellent question. So, so I think like I love living by the biblical principle of counting the cost.
That's good.
Everything you do, count the cost, and you figure out what you want to live with. So in that situation, like you're going to count the cost of like a slightly initially strained relationship, but then being able to allocate your time and use your time wisely and take care of yourself. The other end of it, if you don't put your foot down and make your boundaries clear, you're probably going to have to live with a little bit of resentment and like frustration with yourself.
That's good.
Because I think people forget to understand that there's so much grace for the yes man thing as well, because no one wants to be a yes man. And like you have to embrace the fact that it does come with a lot of trial and error.
That's good.
You get it wrong, then you figure out why you got it wrong and you try to get it right. Like Romans 7 verse 15, I think my favorite translation is probably the Passion or the NLT. It says, I'm quite a mystery myself. I don't understand because I want to do what is right, but I actually do what my morals condemn. You know, like, and the NLT says, I don't even get myself. I don't understand myself. They don't say even get myself. They say, I don't understand myself because although I want to do what is right, I don't end up doing what is right. And then that reminds me that there is grace. And like, okay, I got it wrong this time, but where did I go wrong? And how can I get it right the next time? And I think being a yes man, you can't be complacent in that because it is detrimental to your growth. Like you need to work on yourself, spend time with the Lord, allocate specific time to certain things intentionally. And I think the harshest truth I've had to face, because I've had a lot of trial and error, like is the fact that being a yes man is a form of idolatry. Like I'm idolizing being liked by people and people pleasing, so I don't rock the boat and I get to keep all my friends. But again, if I have to be detrimental to myself to keep relationships, what is the deeper issue we're not facing?
So good.
Like, are we even friends?
Because it's supposed to be, I think you do this so well. Hi friend, not today. Just intentionally putting time in place for that kind of thing.
And I also think we don't necessarily know how to put boundaries in place. Like we speak about boundaries and we know how to say no every now and again, but how do you actually put a boundary in place? And that's the important thing. Like we have to start there, like you said. I think it was your first point, Lexi, where what is your boundary? Like where are you setting your boundary? And if you know that, then it's easy to say no because the boundary's in place. Like it's there. Everyone knows she doesn't have time for this and this, but she already put that boundary in place, especially in workplace as well. You start off, and especially like you said, young adults, we start off and we just think we'll just say yes to everything because we're learning and we want to grow and we want to learn. But if you don't start off with putting that boundary in from the get-go, then after a year, then you're swamped with work and you don't know how to navigate the boundary now.
And it's like Sunny was saying as well, you build up that resentment, not just for yourself, but for the other person as well. And that person has no idea because you never said anything. You never put that boundary in place. You never told them that this is how I'm feeling. So now you resent that person like you're dodging them in the corridors. You don't want to see them. And they're confused. They don't understand what's happening.
That's so good. And I love something you're both touching on actually is how, as I said earlier, like boundaries are actually supposed to be protective measures and guardrails. Like, I think Psalm 16, somewhere in Psalm 16, I want to say verse 8, but I'm not sure. Psalm 16, like where the psalmist says, the boundary lines of the Lord have fallen in pleasant places. I know there's context to that, but like, I can't help but think that they fell in pleasant places for a reason.
That's good.
Our boundaries are supposed to fall in pleasant places too, and resemble the kind of boundaries the Lord wants to have in our lives. You know, so that just, it gets me thinking.
And just to touch on that, I think we can also see it within the church space when you want to serve all the time. And you're willing. You sign me up next week Sunday.
Every department.
Morning, work services, evening, and then youth neg. Do you know what I mean? You're always at church and you're willing to serve and you're ready, which is fantastic if that's your space. But I think personally in my life, when I got to a point where I was always accepting serving, that I wasn't necessarily resenting the people that were putting me in there. I was resenting what I was doing. I was resenting my service because all of that added on pressure that I put on myself. No one else put it on me. It was me. Took me away from the meaning of what I actually wanted to do, why I was serving. And you actually see that in the workspace. You might be in your PR or events, or you just do everything well. You just see, you're in your space and you take on so much, and then once you're overwhelmed and you're getting to a space of burnout where your purpose isn't fun anymore and you don't like it. And I think that if we're specifically looking in a godly context and we're looking towards our purpose, I think it's something that's supposed to be enjoyable. It's tough, yes, and we do grow in it, but if the boundaries aren't in place, how do I then reflect and enjoy what I'm doing? How am I able to grow and improve if all I have facing in my life is tension and resentment to what I was doing? So it stems in all the different points of our lives where we do literally have to start with creating that boundary.
But then once we've created that boundary and it's been put in place, how do we now unapologetically stand our ground?
So I think, or what I've learned through my adulting years, the last few, is mainly if you don't stand for anything, you can fall for everything.
That's
you know,
the word.
and that's the main thing. Like your yes must be your yes, and your no must be your no. And that's something that we must all learn on our different journeys. But if we can't stand by our yes or our no, then what are we actually standing by? Like what are we? You know, then you fall for anything. And essentially, I think our yes should be Jesus's yes. Like, what does He want for our lives? It's easy to put our own boundaries in place or do whatever we feel our purpose is. But if we don't go back to Him every single time asking, what do you want for me? Like, should I do this, you know, or should I serve here, or should I do this? Because it's easy for us to just do whatever, you know. So I think everything goes back to what does Jesus want for us? What's His purpose for our lives? Instead of us just, you know, going on doing our own things.
And that's very, very important, because when we do say no sometimes, like it's our own no, and then we sit there and we're like, yo, I actually should have said yes. I actually feel bad now. Why did I say no? That's because it wasn't our choice. We're saying no because we felt like we needed to say no. But it didn't come from God. It didn't come from Jesus. We didn't actually make that decision with Him. It's about Him. Everything that we do. It's not just about us. Because I don't feel like doing it. Let me just say no, type of thing.
I love that, because like we're meant. I fully believe, like, as responsible as we're meant to be and being intentional with our boundaries, I think as Christians and followers of Jesus, friends of Jesus, as I like to see it, and He says, I think we're also in our DNA by faith are meant to be a sacrificial people, like putting others first and being there for people who need like help or a friend or assistance in any way, again, without it being to our detriment. And I think what we forget as well is how it changes with seasons. Like this season, I can say yes to certain things. Another season, I absolutely cannot say yes to the same things. It's just not practical. And just honoring that for yourself, making it known. And again, like when you make your boundaries known, I think we forget that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You don't have to be like, oh, sorry. You know, like, you can really be chilled and make it known, but then honor it so other people can honor it too.
Awesome.
I love that
point.
And stick to it. Like stick to your no.
So good.
If you've said no, that's okay. Like that's fine.
Really fine.
You'll say yes another time.
Exactly.
It's okay.
And it's like Sunny was saying earlier as well, if the person is offended by you saying no, then there's a deeper issue there.
That's so
Then
true.
we're clearly not on the same page somewhere. If we're friends, if we're colleagues, there's clearly something there that we need to address. And it's also important to address that there and then, rather than just let it slide, and then we have problems later on as well. Amen. I feel like we could go on and on about this topic. But that was a really, really great conversation. And I'm so glad that I got to have you guys here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and joining us in our Life Hack series. We have one more episode left in our series. So if you haven't catched any of the episodes, please do catch up before you watch these episodes, because you don't want to miss anything. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. We will see you again next week as we wrap up our Life Hacks series.
Good evening, young adults. My name is Allegra, and I have the absolute privilege of ending off our hashtag 6 p.m. service for us tonight. We had an incredible panel with some of our beautiful young adults leaders speaking about setting healthy boundaries. Let's bow our heads and pray. Dear God, I pray that you help us prioritize so that we can progress in our lives. I pray that Psalm 16 will come alive for us as young adults, that the boundary lines will fall in pleasant places for us, and that we can truly experience our delightful inheritance. Thank you for teaching us that rest is vital and a boundary that needs to be protected. Thank you that we can establish our boundaries as well as our faith, and in our faith to remain rooted in you. Thank you that there is grace for our relationships, that there is grace towards the mistakes that we make on our journey towards success personally and professionally. Thank you for blessing us with another week filled with new opportunities. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have an incredible week, young adults. Please stay tuned as we join Matt with some exciting news.
Hey, 6 p.m. Allegra, sorry man, not releasing a new song, but worship is going to be live September. People, we are going live worship. So that means more connection, better view, epic sound, and I cannot wait to experience worship with you guys. So come through, check it out at 6 p.m. live worship. See you there.